Hello and welcome back to Here We Tow. Yes, as you can see, it's tin to tum, but it's tin to tum with a difference because today I am actually going to be cooking. I'm going to be making a chicken korma and some naan bread. So if you want to see me make this, then stay with me and join me after this. So here we are, we're in the garden because obviously at the moment we can't go away, and I am going to be making a chicken korma, and I'm going to be doing it on the cob because that's what we've got at home. You could make this dish on the kadak if you've got a paella pan, otherwise you could probably use a pan over the gas flame. You could cook this as well on Weber's too if you've got that device. So this is a really easy dish to make for an evening meal. As I say, we've got the cob. It's been heating up now for about half an hour. The only thing with the cob is it's really difficult to control the temperature. So sometimes it can be a bit hit and miss, but fingers crossed. So what are we going to need for the chicken korma? Well, first of all, we're going to need some oil. Now, normally I prefer coconut oil if I'm making a curry, but in the current climate, I'm a little bit restricted to the ingredients I could get. So I've just got a sunflower oil spray because that's all that was available. You can use vegetable oil or other oils that you may use. It's not tin to tum, it's jar to tum. And yes, I've got a korma cooking sauce. Now, I do always use a store-bought cooking sauce because it is so much easier and they have got lots of nice flavours. I don't necessarily buy this one. This is unfortunately all I could get. So it is cheap and cheerful, but hopefully it'll give us the desired effect. You can use also, if you can find it, a chicken tikka masala sauce. You could use a pasanda, or you could use a butter chicken. All those sauces would work with the ingredients I'm using today. I've also got a vanilla yoghurt, a good quality one because you don't want a cheap one, you want something thick and creamy because that's the taste we're going for. I've also got garlic, fresh garlic. Normally I use easy garlic, again in a jar, because it's all about, for me, making my tea quickly and easily and making it enjoyable. So we've got fresh garlic. What I also normally use is ginger, but unfortunately I couldn't get ginger. And then also what I may add are cardamom pods, cloves, vanilla pods, things like that. But again, our ingredients are limited. The next thing I've got is I like to add coconut into my curries. As you can probably tell, I do like the creamy sweet curries. If you like other ones like the Baltis, the Rogan Joshes and Jalfrezes, you can make those as well. It's quite as easily on the cob or the kadak. So here we are, we've got coconut. The main ingredient, obviously, I've got chicken. Now I've got diced chicken simply because that's all they had. So I've got diced chicken. You can buy fillets and just cut them up, but chicken. You can make this if you wanted. You could put lamb in it or pork, so you don't have to use chicken. If you wanted to do a vegan version, then you could also use a substitution for the actual meat itself. And there's nothing to stop you from doing a vegetable korma if you wanted to do that with maybe something like potato or cauliflower. I've got naan breads. Now, on the cob, you can actually make naan breads. However, I'm not that good at cooking, as you know, so I've gone for something plain and simple, and that's just packaged naans. And at 49p, you can't really go wrong. So garlic naans, and what I'll do to heat those up is I'll be wrapping them in foil, and at the end I'll just bob them over the flames and that'll heat them through. You can do these inside if you wanted to in your oven, if you've got your caravan or your motorhome with you. It's up to you really. And obviously I have got some tin foil to wrap that up with, as I've said. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get the ingredients prepared and we're going to fire them onto the cob. And really, once the chicken's cooked and the sauce is heated through, this should take you no more than maybe 20 minutes. If you want a nicer flavour though, then you can let this simmer over a period of up to an hour to let the chicken absorb the various flavours. Less talking, more cooking. So as I say, I've ended up with fresh garlic, a whole great big bulb of the stuff. Now, it depends how much you like garlic as to how many cloves you want to put into your curry. As I say, I would normally also use ginger. To be fair, Jules loves garlic. My mum used to love garlic. She could scare off a vampire. I don't mind it, but I don't like it overpowering. So I think, to be fair, for this, I would probably just use the 2. A really good tip, now I haven't got our garlic crusher here because it's in the caravan, sadly, which isn't with us. If you have a garlic crusher, what you can do is you don't even need to worry about peeling your garlic clove. All you do is you put your clove into the crusher, crush it, the garlic itself will come out and the skin remains in the crusher. It's like a magic trick, and I learnt that through trial and error and a lot of hours spent peeling garlic cloves. So as I say, I will just give these a quick peel and chop them up, and then we're ready to get going. So I've chopped the garlic into sort of medium-sized pieces really for what I'm doing. If you do it in a crusher, it's going to be a lot smaller and like a little mush. I'm just going to lift the lid off now, the cob, and I'm going to put this onto the floor because it will be very hot, so be careful. So that's on the floor. We've now got the dish. Now this is the cob dish that came with the air cob that we got. I don't know the full technical names for it all, but it's the dish. So I'm going to use the sunflower oil. This is just a spray one. Now the dish, I can feel it is pretty hot, so I'll see how this how the oil goes. It's brand new oil, so we'll give it a little spray. I'll just let the smoke clear. As you can see, the dish is really, really hot. So I'll just let it cool a moment. So the smoke has cleared a little bit now. We'll just put the oil into the cob pan. Now, as I say, the problem with the cob is it's getting the right temperature, but it does cook really well, and it's particularly good for barbecuing. So we've got some oil there. What I'm going to do first of all, just throw the garlic in, and then I'm going to use the chicken. Now, I'm going to use this knife, and then I won't use it again because this is raw meat. So I'm just going to add the chicken. Should you cook your chicken? Well, there's 2 trains of thought on whether you should you wash your chicken. And one is yes you should, and one is no you shouldn't. And no you shouldn't because when you wash it, if the water splashes around your kitchen, you can actually then contaminate your kitchen. I watch a bit of cooking guy Sam, he's American, and he says absolutely not. He's got over 1 million subscribers, I think, so I'm going with him. The man's got restaurants. He knows a lot more than I do with my microwave. So the chicken's cooking quite nicely there, and the garlic's in there, so that flavour will go into the chicken. As I say, what I normally add would be ginger, and then like cardamom and vanilla and things like that, and they give a really nice flavour to the meat, but unfortunately I've just not been able to get them with what's happening. So we'll let the chicken just cook through, because until that's cooked we don't want to be adding the yoghurt or the sauce or the coconut. So I'll see you once this is cooked up a little bit more. So I'm just going to bob the lid back on just to let the heat build up again, because the more air you get to it, the cooler it is. So we'll just let the heat build up and it'll cook it through a bit quicker for us. So that's cooking really nicely. It's probably been cooking about 5 to 7 minutes maybe. Most of the chicken's getting there. We'll just make sure we turn the pieces. Obviously, if you are doing it over a longer period of time where you're going to simmer it as well, the chicken will cook extra then. But I'm not going to be doing that, so I want to make sure that I don't poison anybody. So I'm just going to cook it so it's all nicely cooked through properly. So the chicken's pretty much there. Now, because I've kept the lid on for most of the cooking process, we haven't had all the water from the chicken evaporate, so it is in the pan. Now, if you want, you can drain yours. I'm not too bothered. I'm just going to carry on as it is because it's not overly moist. And to be fair, I don't know how wet this sauce is going to be because I've not used it. So I'm going to leave it as it is. You can always thicken it up, hopefully with the coconut. And don't forget, if you don't want naans, you can have rice with this dish, so it's not a problem if you like rice with it. So it's cooking away nicely. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the sauce in next. Now, as I say, this was just an Asda Korma sauce, probably a little bit cheap and cheerful for me, but it smells nice. Asda do really good curry sauces, so we'll see how this one goes. So we're going to put the sauce in. Now be careful, because if your pan is hot, it can spit. What I do normally do as well, which I'm not doing right now because I brought all the ingredients outside, is I put a bit of milk. It can be full fat, half fat, skimmed, whatever you use, soy milk even. I put it in the jar, I put the lid back on, I give it a shake, and I make sure I get all of the sauce out, because you don't want to waste any, because we're tight Yorkshire folk. So you can always give that a wash out. And what you can use is, if you don't want to use desiccated coconut or normal milk, you can use coconut milk, and that gives a nice, really sweet taste to it. So that's another thing to think about if you want to use that. So I'm just mixing the sauce in. As I say, it's not the best sauce in the world, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to thicken that up a bit, and I'm going to use, this one's a Madagascan vanilla yoghurt. It's an Asda one again. I think this was about 50p for this little container, which isn't too bad, but you know it's going to be good because it's a nice and thick one. So I'll pour that in as well. There we go. So that's the yoghurt as well. And this just makes it nice and creamy. And funnily enough, I don't even like dairy products, so why I like creamy curry, I don't know. So I'll give that a mix in. I can't hold the pan to stir it because it's so hot. So if you do have a cob, be careful, because these handles do become absolutely red hot. So the yogurt's stirring in. Now, as I say, it's quite runny, but that's where the coconut's going to thicken this up. So I'll add the coconut now. It's totally up to you how much you put in. It's sort of a personal thing really, because it is very sweet, and you don't want it too thick. There we go. You still want a nice creamy sauce at the end of the day. If it's too thick, oh no, you don't want that. So we'll just let this all mix in, and because the chicken's cooked, all I'm doing now is literally just heating through the sauce, which hopefully the cob should do nice and quickly. If you wanted to do this over a longer period of time, so it does absorb the flavour of the curry, then you can just bob the lid on. Be careful not to put too much charcoal though if you are using a cob, because the more fuel you put in, the more heat you're going to get, and you'll find that you'll just burn your curry and it'll be absolutely disgusting. You're best just doing it nice and slowly. So there we go. That's quite nicely mixed in. I'm going to put a bit more coconut in because unfortunately I'm not sweet enough. So there we go. There's other things you can put in if you're having a korma, and probably the same with a pasanda. Not so much a tikka masala, but pasanda and korma is you can put currants in. I don't know if anyone else puts any other sort of fruit in. To be fair, I'm not a big fan of currants. That's why if I have scones, I don't like them with currants in. So I certainly won't be adding it into this. It's like if I get a Peshwari naan. I mean, we've got garlic today, but with Peshwari naans, you often get currants in those. And that's the only thing that spoils them for me, because I absolutely love Peshwari naans. So there we go. I mean, to be fair, that's not bad. It's quite a nice consistency now. What I'll do is I will just bob the lid back on. And the reason I'm going to do that is I'm just going to let that build up a little bit of heat, just to make sure that sauce is heated all the way through. And then that's going to be ready to serve. So I was saying about naan breads. Now, the naan breads, you can make them yourself. It's not something I intend to even try, if I'm absolutely honest, but you can do them. What I'm going to do is, I normally do them in the oven if I'm away in the caravan, so that's always a possibility. But if you've got your cooking device out, you can just wrap them in foil. Because all you want to do is heat them through. We're not actually cooking the breads, we're just warming them. So as I say, these were Asda garlic and coriander, 49p, I think it was, bargains. Now, I'll just take the lid off. Yeah, we're cooking away nicely there. Now you can sprinkle these with water. Again, outside, I haven't got the water to hand, so I'm just going to wrap these up. Give this a stir. Super. So now it's bubbling, we know that that is nicely heated through. It's safe to eat, I would like to think. So there we go. So what I'm going to do next with the naan breads is I'm going to take this dish off the cob. I'm going to put it somewhere safe on the ground because it's so hot. And I'm just going to lower my naan breads over the coals of the charcoal, which are red hot, to just let those heat through. So I'll do that now and I'll be with you in a minute. So Jules has swapped these over for us, and what he's done is taken the dish, and that's now on this thick wooden chopping board, and on here we've got a rack. So I'm just going to place the naan breads over the rack. I'm going to put the lid back on because, as I say, the cob builds heat up with this lid on. It's like a kettle drum, I suppose. So we'll pop that on, and that's now going to heat that up. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to serve my curry into the two bowls that I've got. We're going to enjoy our tea. Once you've served your curry, if you like it to look fancy, you can always use some cream on the top or sprinkle some more coconut on. I just like to get stuck in because I'm generally pretty starving at this point. So what I'll do next is I'll serve the curry up and then we'll be ready to eat. So there we go. I'm just going to dish it up. I'm just going to have this in bowls, as I say, with no rice. Jules isn't too bothered about rice and I can't eat a great deal at once, so there's no point in me having any rice. What you can do is with the cob, you can't do it obviously with the kadak, but with the cob what you can do is you can actually put the dish back in over the naan breads to make sure the curry stays warm as well. So that's another possibility if you want to bob it back in. But you must be careful because it is so hot, seriously. You need to wear gloves if you're going to start lifting things about. So do be careful. So that's Jules's portion. I'm going to just have a little baby bowl. So we've got to feed the workers. So there we go. I'll carry dishing this up, and once I've got it all out, I'll show you it all together. So there we go. We've got our chicken korma on the cob. We've got the garlic naan bread. All together, I'm pretty happy with that. I'll go and taste it. Let's hope I don't hurt anybody with it. So, as always, thanks for watching. I do appreciate you watching me cook food. Who knows what I might bring you next. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.